My favorite one is probably drama. I'll give you guys my answer there, or sometimes horror, depending on the movie. All right, so far, let me just see here. So we have a little bit of everything. So we have some horror, we have some romance, we have some drama. Would anybody like to share what their favorite film is? Or it could even be a TV show, a documentary, anything on Netflix. No? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. All right, which of these actors are a Canadian? This one shocked me a lot. So we have Ryan Reynolds, Sandra Oh, Issa Rae, and Timothy Chalamet. Which one of these actors are Canadian? I will give you a hint. There are two answers. If anyone recognizes Sandra Oh, she was also in Grey's Anatomy, which I love. And then Issa Rae is literally going crazy right now, producing a lot. All right. So yes, everyone actually, not everyone, but majority guessed correctly. So it is Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Oh. If anyone recognizes them, it probably is from Grey's Anatomy, which is very popular right now. I was shocked to know that they are Canadian, but great, everyone. Going to move on to the next one. Which of these movies is Canadian? So we have Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Gone Girl, Breakaway, and Cloverfield. Which of these movies is Canadian? Another hint here, there's only one right answer for this one. And feel free to add any comments from the film if you have any in the chat. Okay, so it's a little bit mixed right now. We have some answers for each. The correct answer is Breakaway. Has anyone watched any of these films? I'll be honest, I have not. I know about Gone Girl because that one had a lot of buzz, but I didn't watch any of these movies. All right, next question. This one just had. All right, does filming a movie in Canada make it a Canadian film? Yes or no? Does filming a movie in Canada make it a Canadian film? I was wrong about this one. I took a guess and I was wrong. So I'm excited to see what everyone guesses here. We're just waiting on one more. Okay, so no, you're correct. So you can film a movie internationally and it can still be recognized as a Canadian film, and also vice versa. There's Deepa Mehta's film Water, which was primarily shot in Sri Lanka, but it is considered Canadian. How it works is there's different scores that will deem it Canadian, such as having a Canadian director, a Canadian screenwriter. So overall, no, it does not need to be shot in Canada to be considered Canadian. Thank you. All right. Do you watch the credits to a film? Yes or no? I'll also give you my answer. I never started watching credits of a film until recently, only because I started realizing there's more bonus clips to a film. Does everyone else here watch the credits to a film? Okay, so we're 50-50. Um, I'm realizing that a lot of films now, if you watch the movies in the theaters, they are including bonus scenes or even bloopers, especially in the new Marvel movies. So you're missing out, definitely. I'm gonna move on to the next question here. Oh, we're all done. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. Once again, if you do have any questions, feel free to type it into the chat or even unmute the mic. You can also ask Mr. D'Souza to pop it in the chat if you're unable to type it in. So thank you so much. Here is a video that talks about some of the many jobs that also happen on set. So here we go.
DP, AC, PA, what does it all mean? It takes a lot of people to make a film. Sometimes a lot of people. And no matter the amount of people on a film set, everyone has a specific role and responsibility that keeps the machine rolling. Hi, I'm Cal, and I'm a camera operator in the Canadian film and TV industry. And today, I'm going to take you through a bit of a virtual tour of the on-set crew, the different departments, the teams, and how they all work together. Let's dive in. Whoa, I guess. Okay, here we go. I think the easiest way to explain how a film crew works is to compare the different departments to the parts of the body. If the brain is responsible for making the whole body move, that's our team of producers. There's all kinds of producers, but ultimately, they're responsible for overseeing the production, sourcing the funding, and championing the project, from hiring the crew to approving the final cut. The entry-level member of this team is the PA, or production assistant. It's a position that most people start with, and it's a great spot to learn. They basically assist all of the departments in countless ways, from paperwork, running errands, and simply grabbing coffee for talent. Oh, thank you. Oh, that way, actually. Yep. Oh, wow. Yeah, that. Oh, it's 100% that way. There we go. Next, you can't have a body without a beating heart. That's your director. While the production team oversees the nitty-gritty logistical details, the director envisions and orchestrates the whole story. They help actors craft their performances, and they decide how the story will be told visually. But they can't do it alone, which is why they have support from the assistant director team. We call them ADs, who manage everything from call sheets, shot lists, to even talent wrangling. Oh, come on, quit wrangling me. Ever get distracted from one shot to the next and you can't quite put your finger on what's different? Continuity! A great script supervisor will take care of all that and keep everything consistent from one shot to the next. Moving on to the windows of the soul, the eyes. In your film crew, these would be the camera department. The coolest department if you ask me. So the lead of this team is your DP, AKA Director of Photography, AKA Cinematographer. They and their team are responsible for the cameras, the lighting design, the framing, the capturing of the action. They keep the image in focus and even help the editing team by making sure they identify different shots or takes by using the slate, also known as the clapper. Someone parked in my parking spot this morning?
Oh, Mike's hot.
Oh, yeah, copy, yeah. Obviously, the sound department. On a set, you've usually got your sound recordist and your boom operator. They're responsible for capturing the audio of the dialogue and the ambient sound on a film set. Next, we've got the gaffer and the grip. Or is it the grip and the gaffer. Either way. They're the working hands on a film set. The gaffer manages the electrical needs of the film set and works closely with the DP to execute the final lighting design. Grips assist the camera department in moving equipment around and building camera rigs. They also build lighting rigs and help the gaffers move around the lighting equipment. Yeah, they're the hands. You get it. Because they're wearing gloves and they're moving stuff. Lights are hot. Our friend here is pretty exposed. Oh, wow. Whoa, wow. Okay, but that's where the art department comes in. Think of them as the body's clothes. The set designer plans, designs, and oversees the construction of the environment in which a scene is filmed. The props team is responsible for all the objects the actors handle. The costume designer finds or makes all the clothing and shoes worn on screen. The hair and makeup artists design and execute different looks. They can even make you look like a zombie. You guys are into that, right? I hope this brief overview of the anatomy of a film set gives you a better understanding of how it all works together. Cut it. We're out.
Thank you. So as you saw, it does take a lot more than just a director and some actors to make a film. And this video just covers being on set and those jobs. So there are a ton of people involved in pre-production, such as casting, location scouts. That's something I was surprised about. People actually get paid to look for locations on where to shoot movies and films. There's also jobs in post-productions like editors, special effects, colorists, and also musicians. I currently work as the production coordinator for the Toronto Raptors and the Maple Leafs, which I never even knew was a position. But if you have a passion for something, there probably is a space for you in the film and television industry for you to get involved in that field as well. Now, before introducing our special guest, I want to thank our sponsors for today's event: the Government of Ontario, the Government of Canada, Telefilm Canada, Ontario Creates, Bell Media, NBC Universal, the City of Toronto, IATSE, and the Canadian Media Producers Association. Now, we have a very special industry guest here with us today. They're joining us from Toronto to tell us more about their career path in the Toronto film industry. Lou Belgum is a Canadian filmmaker from Barrie, Ontario, who has spent the last decade directing and writing short films, feature films, and TV pilots. They started their career working in props and art departments on commercials with companies such as Spotify, Ferrero Rocher, and Google before transitioning to directing, writing, and producing full-time. They currently work with Coma Buckle Lab Productions, developing shows and future films. And remember, everyone, our guests will be taking their own unique identity and experiences. So while you listen to them, please think about how the story relates to you and your interest, and think of some great questions that we can ask during our Q&A. So without further ado, let's welcome Lou.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Lou.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Glad to talk to people about myself.
Exactly. So just a reminder to Mr. D'Souza's class, when you do have questions for Lou, feel free to pop it in the chat. I will read them out, as well as if you want to unmute the mic, we can also do that as well. I will begin by asking the first question for Lou. So could you tell everyone what you do in the Canadian film industry?
Sure. So I work multiple jobs, as a lot of people in the film industry do. You juggle many hats. My current day job, if you will, or like the most normal thing I do, is I am a development producer. So I'm the person people pitch TV shows, movies to. They're like, hey, I've got this great idea. Please give me a minute after a question so that I can ask class. Perfect. Yeah, so people pitch to me, and if I find value in what they're pitching, I will take them on as a client, bring them to the production company I work with, and we help them develop that idea into something that is ready to be taken to like Netflix or Amazon or Disney. Because it's a lot of work past just writing a script to make sure it's ready. And it's a lot of work to get a good script.
Exactly. And just to build on that, while we give Mr. D'Souza's class some time, what is it that sparks your interest when you do bring it onto your team when you hear a pitch? Because I'm pretty sure you get so many different ones.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'll give you guys examples of hard numbers. Like last year, I got 726 scripts sent to me. And like, I'm a working filmmaker. I direct, I write, I produce. I've made 14 short films. I've directed a feature. I've directed 4 pilots. I forget about one of them. And the big thing is like, no one watches, that's a lie. People do watch TV to disassociate, but good TV is very much, it creates an emotional response. And a lot of people will submit scripts where like they have an idea or they have a theme, but there's not enough of a story. It's like when you watch a movie about, let's say, someone can make a movie about climate change, climate change is a concept. You can make a great movie about that, but good movies are about people, not things. And that's kind of the the first big interfering moment is a lot of movies, or well, movies, TV shows people pitch me are ideas. They're not stories about real people. And at the end of the day, the big thing you want is for someone to have an emotional response. You know, people got really into Stranger Things because they felt emotionally connected to those characters. And if you can't do that, no one cares.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you so much. So now I'll throw it over to Mr. D'Souza in your class. Do we have any questions yet for Lou? Yep, no worries.
Well,
And
my cat
I'll
wants to say hi.
Oh, hello. All right, and I'll just ask a little filler question while we give them another minute or so. How did you get into the industry, or what sparked your interest?
So I've always liked movies. I was a military brat growing up, so I'd move every couple months, every couple years. So everything changed very quickly for me, and movies stayed the same. So I always gravitated to them. Because when you're a kid, you like familiar stuff. You like to know what you're getting. But that also might be my anxiety talking. So that's what sparked my interest. Then in high school, I started making short films, started in like my Comtech and media classes, and then I started making them outside of school. Obviously, the first thing I made was a zombie movie because that's what everyone does. It's a rite of passage. From there, I decided I wanted to go to Sheridan College because it's like one of the best rated film schools in Canada. I applied in 2011 and didn't get in. So I applied in 2012 and no, 2010 I didn't get in. 2011 I didn't get in, and 2012 I did get in, which was great. You know, I had a good time there. I spent 3 years learning all about camera and writing. Was going to be a cinematographer, and then I graduated and never touched a camera again. Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that because I also applied to Ryerson Media Production the first year, didn't get in, applied again, and then got in. So I feel like a lot of people, they probably don't get in, but we keep that passion and apply. Mr. D'Souza says, students able to ask over the mic. Okay, great. You can go ahead.
Sorry, we're just doing a bit of juggling here with speakers and mics, but hopefully this works out okay. Sam, if you can go ahead.
So, how did you know what you wanted to do basically in the future? Sorry.
I'll be honest, I didn't. I knew I wanted to do something to do with film. As a kid, I'd always been like, I want to direct, even without fully understanding what that is. And like, I do direct. But childhood me would not have realized that maybe 30% of directing is being creative and 70% is being a good communicator and leader. Because no movie gets made by one person. If you're a director, which, you know, is the industry goal for me and where I'm going, and like I am doing it, communicating with people, having a team and being able to manage that team is a massive, massive part of the job. When I got out of school, I thought I was going to be a cinematographer. I got onto my first set as a volunteer production assistant. The producer was having a meltdown because their production designer, who's like the person that designs sets and does all the art department, quit on a commercial next week. They're like, oh my God, we need a bar set. I was like, I could build you a bar. I've renovated houses with my parents. You know, we move around a lot. I was like, yeah, I could do that. So he gave me the budget. I hired some people that knew how to do that. Hired a team of people that know what they're doing, learned a lot from them. That snowballed into 2 years of me doing commercials. It paid well. Wasn't what I was intending to do. It was fun. Wasn't what I was intending to do. So I stopped that to do writing, directing, and producing. Because that is what I want. But a lot of times learning what you want to do is doing a lot of what you don't want to do. And you can do that in film school, or you can just dive right into the industry. I mean, you guys are located, what, in Brampton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. So you're right beside the biggest film industry in Toronto and the fastest growing film industry not in Toronto, in Canada. Fastest growing film industry area in the world. Toronto's got more studios being built than anywhere else in the world right now. The studio space is limited, and a lot of big film hubs don't have extra space. But yeah, it's kind of a rough path. Just try, fail. A lot of people have an idea of like what they think their dream job is, and it's not. You know, like I've got friends who came in wanting to be directors and realized, you know what? I like props. I like dealing with these props. That's it for them. They like it, stress-free, they have a good time, and they get to be creative. And like most jobs in film, the moment you get to the union world, it's well paid.
Exactly. What I just will add on that as well is that in the film industry, even though you may start off as a director, like Lou said, you can easily change what you want to do next. You can move to be DP, you can be a producer. You can change it. It doesn't have to be what your heart set is on in the moment. You can change it at any time. So thank you. We can take the next question.
Okay.
Do you think it's a hard industry to get in? Like, if others like, do you think it's easy to get opportunities to do like what you do, or is it hard?
Questionable, because there's two facets to the film industry. There's the film industry and there's the creative industry. Getting work in the film industry is incredibly easy. My advice to people, if you have a driver's license, you can get work. If you have a car, you can get work. If you've ever rented a U-Haul and just driven it around town and feel comfortable with it, oh my God, can you get work? Facebook is a very big hiring platform for our industry. Like, it's a social industry. There's an old adage of like, you know, it's who you know, not what you know. And that's true, but it doesn't mean like, if you know rich people, you get to make whatever you want. It's literally like the people you know are who hire you. Because a lot of people, they'd much rather just hire someone they know who's probably going to do a good job than hire this unknown person in a resume stack who has to work with them for 16 hours a day for 4 weeks. You know, you can learn on the job, and that's a very big thing in the film industry. It's a lot less of, you know, do you know this, and more, what's your attitude? We can teach you. It's fine. On the creative side, it's much harder to get in because you need a portfolio, and a lot of portfolios are you either make it yourself or it doesn't happen. So like the example I always use is like I have a friend named Simu. Simu currently plays a Marvel superhero called Shang-Chi. Back in 2015, Simu directed, wrote, and acted in a short film for himself called Crimson Defender and the Slightly Racist Family, about how there's no Asian superheroes. In that, he showed off his directing, his producing, his writing, how he can fight, how charming he is, and how comedic he is. And he's doing pretty well. But that's the thing. On the creative side, you've got to make it for yourself. So you'll see a lot. It's hard to get into because it's expensive. You know, you'll see a lot of creatives rise up very quickly. Guillermo del Toro, Emerald Fennell, and they have a lot of money at their disposal. When you're on the lower income side, like me, you work on sets, you meet people, you ask if they want to help, you treat them like people, you treat them nice, and you be a good leader, and you make it, man. Like, you're fine. Both are highly possible. Toronto, like where you are now, you're already steps ahead of everyone. Yes. Just curious, how much do directors get paid? In the non-union world, it fluctuates heavily. Like when I direct, my rate is on the low end $400 a day, on the high end $1,200 a day. That does not mean I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, because most of my time is spent finding jobs. You know, like I'll be lucky to get 1 or 2 days of directing a month. And that's pretty normal. But when you do get something that's like a week-long shoot, adds up nicely. In the union world, which you get into the union world, I'm going to jump to that next. When you get in the union world, you have a lot of unions that control everything. So we have the DGC in Canada, where the average rate is, I think, $15,000 for a week of work, which adds up nicely, especially when, you know, you get on a family channel TV show. That's 3 weeks of work regardless, because you have a lot of prep. And that helps keep things going. It's freelance work, so it's never continuous. You're always looking for new clients. So being able to manage your finances, understanding math and all that is just across the board useful. Next question. What if you aren't really good at something, but you need...
Sorry to jump in, Lou. Before we take the next question, we do have to move on to the to show off your assets and do the show and tell. So we will answer that question. I will go right back to it, okay?
Perfect, because that's a good question.
Thank you. So now we're going to take a look at what Lou has done. And then Lou, feel free to give us all the insights on these amazing projects that you've worked on.
Sure. So this is me directing on my first feature film, Off-World. We made this in 2018. This is me working with an actor, Crystal Rose, on the 6th take of the same scene. We've been shooting it for about 2 hours, trying to get 2 pages of dialogue done. It's frustrating. And being able to manage people who are getting just as frustrated as you without ruining the vibe of set when you're all trying to work together 16 hours a day is difficult. So this is an example of me doing exactly that. The other person in the picture is Jessica Smith. She is an assistant director, which is another job you can get in the film industry. And a lot of directors, when they find an assistant director they like, they latch onto them and try and bring them everywhere. As an assistant director, I'm a very creative person. I can come up with crazy ways of doing things. I am not a logistical person. Assistant directors are the logistics. I say, here's what I want to do. They say, here's how much time we have. Here's what's possible. Figure it out. Usually you have 3 to 4 of those on a production, all of different variations. But yeah, this is me working on a sci-fi Western. This is right at the beginning of the pandemic. Obviously, the pandemic makes having 150 people in a room shooting a movie very difficult. Now we've figured it out. In 2020, we hadn't. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make an animated movie. I don't know how to animate. So I had to learn how to animate. It's a very slow process. So that's what this is from. This is just a work in progress animated movie, because at the end of the day, the big mark of a creator, a writer, a producer is like, anyone can technically do it. Only those that really want to create are the ones that get to do it. The big mark of like what is an artist versus what is a normal person. An artist is someone who, if you just leave them in a room by themselves, they'll make something, because that's just an innate trait they have, just the need to create. And I was going crazy. So this is also on the 2018 sci-fi film Offworld. Just shooting on a green screen. I don't know, I feel like a lot of people think that that's like a super expensive thing to get into. This was acquired for, I bought the owner of the studio some shawarma, and I made him a crock pot full of pulled pork.
Wow.
And that was enough to curry favor. It works well. It got us onto the green screen, got us everything we needed. Got to show off the costumes, which were made by a drag queen I know in Toronto. She was interested in working in film. I was like, hey, I want to make some costumes for this little movie. Once again, it's who you know, but it doesn't mean you have to be rich. You just have to know people. All the creative choices, all the creative decisions, it's all people. It's all people skills.
So Lou, did you just approach the owner and just say, hey, I'll pay you in shawarma?
So I've known him for a few years, just from like working in the industry. He hired me in 2016 to build some props for him.
Okay.
I was like, haha, I know someone that has a green screen. I know what they like,
Wow.
So you know a little bit of, you do your research. There's a little bit of Jessica Jones sleuthing, if you will.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing us that. Those are definitely some incredible projects. I personally like the animations because, like you said, in the pandemic, it is hard, but you took advantage of the time that you had. We will jump back into the final Q&A. So Mr. D'Souza asks, what if you aren't really good at something, but you need to be good at said talent to pursue the career?
Got it. So the first step to being good at something is to suck really hard at it. If you're not good, you can get good. Also, to be honest, a lot of this industry prefers personality over talent.
Exactly.
I would much rather work with someone I like than someone who is absolutely incredible, but I cannot stand.
Yeah.
The rest of it can be taught. The only places I can think of where like it gets harder is once time is an asset in the union world. But at the end of those days, you can take on jobs that you think have skills that you like. If you're a makeup artist and you're really good at doing, Euphoria style beautiful makeup, and someone asks you if you want to work on Star Trek, if you know you're not going to do it well, you just don't take that job. Doesn't mean you're not a makeup artist.
Exactly. And just to add on that, another great thing is fake it till you make it. But you can do that to a certain extent. But I always say fake it till you make it, because as long as you have the passion and the willingness to learn, it could never really work on the downside. Another question that we have is, who is someone somewhat famous that was not like what you expected them to be like?
I mean, I'm just going to jump back on the fake it till you make it, but I promise I will get to these two. So fake it till you make it. That's how I got my first job working on a Google commercial. I just said I could do it. The entire thing is knowing what you can do, knowing what you can't do, and being upfront about that, and finding people that can do it to fulfill what you can't do. At the end of the day, people don't really care how it gets done, so long as it does get done. So put aside any kind of ego and just get it done through what
Exactly.
doesn't always have to be you. And people will respect you a lot more for that because they see you as a problem solver, and that's what they need. Okay, jumping into who is someone famous that was not like what you expected them to be? Oh God, I've worked with quite a bunch. I mean, I worked with Drake in 2016, and they were exactly what I expected. We'll take that how we will. One that was in 2018, I was warned of an actress who I was told was going to be kind of difficult to work with. Her name is January Jones. Worked with her for a day doing like behind the scenes for Netflix. And oh my God, what a lovely person. She was so polite, so pleasant, brought her dog. Everything was great.
Wow.
You hear a lot of stories about actors and people being like, oh, they're difficult to work with. When you get into the film industry and people are working 16, 20 hours a day, because I mean, you're working a 16-hour day, actors been in makeup before you even got there. You know what? People might get crappy. People might get, a little disgruntled. That's not really indicative of who they are. And a lot of people are worried about getting judged on a bad day. So just have an open mind.
Exactly. And another question that we have is, how do you find motivation to do things?
I mean, that's being an artist. Well, I guess that's more inspiration. Motivation, you got to build I'm trying to think of the correct word. Well, yeah, you got to find a way to motivate yourself because it is hard to do things. It's hard to sometimes get up and be like, what's the point? Self-care is big. Knowing what's important is big. Setting realistic deadlines for yourself is big. Being like, oh, I'm going to make this movie in 3 weeks. Be realistic with yourself. Like we shot a movie in 2018. It's now 4 years later and it's still not done. Basically, you got to treat yourself with the same respect, kindness, and patience that you treat others. And a lot of people want to give that away to everyone and treat everyone else really well, but they don't treat themselves well. And that's a recipe for burning yourself out. And that goes for any industry. If you want to work creatively, if you want to work in film or not, be nice to yourself. And understand that like if you fail, it's not a reflection of you. It's a learning opportunity.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So we've heard about Lou's unique journey into the industry, but every single person's path is different. Everyone has their own talent and skills and their own goals for the future. What we want you to take away from this workshop is that no matter who you are, what your interests are, you can find a place in this industry. We tell a lot of great on-scene stories in this country, and whatever your role is on set, your contribution can help make them even better. We're almost out of time, but before we go, I do want to show you some resources where you can learn more about this. First is our website, realcanada.ca/real opportunity. So here we have detailed job descriptions for the many roles involved in making a film and how they can all fit together. We also have links and information about what kind of education you can take to approach. For each job, links to schools and other programs, as well as tips for how to find opportunities within the Canadian film and television industry. Here in Brampton, you have access to a lot of great film programs, including ones at Ryerson University, York University, and University of Ontario. There are a lot of great programs also at Seneca College, Sheridan College, and Humber College. We also have a YouTube channel with real professionals sharing their insights and tips, and we'll be adding a new video every week, everyone. So if you want to learn more about Canadian films, check out our website for recommendations of films that have been selected by high school students across the country, just like you. There's also a huge amount of variety depending on the films that you like, and you can also watch the trailers as well. I want to say a huge thank you to Lou, who has given us an insight at working right in the film industry here in Canada. Thank you to Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Z for reaching out to us and helping us plan this session. And finally, thank you for you all for participating and making this a meaningful conversation, and also for being brave enough to ask your questions. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for more information about Canadian film and working in the industry. We are Real Canada on all platforms. Thank you and take care.